Economic Development Committee will now come to order. We will begin by going to item number 1 first. Please read the item into the record.
Communication from the Mayor and CAO to report relative to selection of a grid prevention services provider in the Ramona Gardens Hollenbeck Grid Zone, selection of an intervention services provider in the 77th 2 Grid Zone, and renewal of the contract with the Advancement Project for operation of the Los Angeles Violence Intervention Training Academy.
Thank you very much. Do we have any public comment cards on this item? Okay. We have one public comment card. We'll open up public comment on item number 1. Antonia Ramirez, please come forward. You have 2 minutes.
Good morning. Since I live with these gang-infested areas, Councilman, unlike you, I am making sure that it gets done. Something gets done anyway. I'm here to report gangbangers and their criminal empires that stems out of East LA and extends all the way out in the outer areas, all through California, predominantly and most viciously in LA County. They are Luis and Luz Moya. They just got evicted for non-payment and committing crimes on the property at 3747 East 55th Street, Maywood, California, 90270. The rest are 3721, 3738, 3739, 3744, 3748, 3749, 3750, 3759, 3804, 3805, 3806 through 3813. All on East 55th Street, Maywood, California, 90270, including 3747 and a half and 3741 and a half East 55th Street, Maywood, California, 90270. The rest are 3804 Carmelita Street. Next one is 5417 Carmelita Street. The next one is 3738 East 54th Street. Next one is 3746 East 54th Street. And 3757 58th Street in Maywood, California, 90270. And the reason I'm bringing this up, because nobody else seems to be doing their work but me. I've actually put myself in danger by walking the streets at night between 12 and 4 o'clock in the morning and looking where the gangbangers ride. The young kids are riding their bicycles night and day and drug dealing, vandalizing the property. The gangbangers who live in the properties leave markers, and those markers could include cigarette butts, popsicle sticks, newspapers, and that indicates to the graveyard shift that's where you vandalize the property. And I know because I live it every bloody stinking day. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
I'm just curious.
Antonia.
Antonia? You said Maywood, California? Antonia, you said Maywood, California? Okay, you do recognize that's not in the city's jurisdiction?
I'm sorry?
You do recognize that's not in the city's jurisdiction?
Well, it does when the crimes are coming out of the nucleus, the hub, East LA, and extending outside into the LA County.
The hub, Maywood.
Downtown LA.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you. If there are no objections or questions from the committee, we'll move to approve the CAO's recommendations. We do have a quorum with Councilmember Alarcon present, Councilmember Reyes present, and myself, Chairman Cardenas, present. Okay? So approve the CAO's recommendations. We'll now go to item number 2.
Item number 2, LHD and CAO report relative to authority to enter into a letter of agreement with the Los Angeles Department of Building Safety to implement a pilot program funded by Neighborhood Stabilization Program grant funds for the LADBS to provide engineering and inspection services and related actions.
Okay. We have one public comment card on item number 2. Antonia Ramirez will open up for public comment. We now have present with us Councilmember Weston.
Again, I take great pride in doing the job of many of them who don't do their honorable jobs. This is in reference to building and safety and implementing a pilot program funded by the Neighborhood Stabilization. And I'd go ahead and investigate the Neighborhood Stabilization Program and who is holding them accountable. Anyways, having said that, I noticed that many up in the Latino communities, which is something I deal with also on a daily basis, and that is many of the surrounding homes, they do body work out of their backyard. The resins, the pesticides, and all the other toxic fumes leaking over into other properties. And that's something that is not covered. Also in surrounding apartments and houses, you've got a stench of animal, dog feces all over. Nobody cleans it up. And again, dilapidated areas become because of the property that is not taken care of, and then it goes into disrepair, and then it becomes unsafe. And this is a problem that we have, and then we have rodent infestations and all sorts of problems in the Latino communities. And when the inspectors go into these areas to inspect these properties, they, as many have told me, they play a cat and mouse game. Can't get a hold of the owners or any individual or property owner so they can clean up the mess. And that mess eventually again spills over into the adjacent properties. They're creating problems, toxic environment, and what have you. And that's the problems I'm dealing with. I try to live by the letter of the law in a clean, wholesome environment, and that's not possible with these ranchero changos, okay? And again, I'm asking you, and the worst problem is when you report it to the police department, most Latinos in the Latino neighborhoods, they're just as worse. Again, you go to deaf ears when they are Latino deputies. They do not want to take on or assume the responsibilities or write up a report. They simply just say, well, what do you want me to do? Thank you, officers or deputies. And so that's my plight for the day. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions on item number 2, members? Okay, seeing no questions on item number 2, we'll move to approve the CAO's recommendations. Okay, CAO's recommendations are approved. We'll now move to item number 3.
Item number 3, LEHD and resolution relative to authority to adopt TEFRA resolution and minutes for the Linda Vista Apartments, Panorama City Workforce Neighborhood Apartments, Silver Lake Apartments, Vista Angelina Apartments, and Central City Apartments. And this item is scheduled for council on November 4th.
Okay. We do have one public comment card on item number 3. We'll open up public comment. Antonia Ramirez.
Once again, asserting my First Amendment, because I'm not a butt kisser, Alarcon. Having said that, I'd also like to ask you is, can we do something in terms of apartments? Stop hiring these Latino managers. Many of them do not live by the standards of this country. And what they do is they have promoted homelessness among military veterans and among law-abiding citizens. If you so much, having lived in an apartment in Panorama City with a military veteran, you complain to the so-called manager who can't speak English. You complain about cockroaches, etc. And what they end up doing is putting out a retaliatory eviction, even though you're paying rent. So I am not alone. Many military veterans of all colors, ethnicities, races have ended up homeless because they stand on principle. Not because they're crazy, not because they're stupid, but because they're not butt kissers, including myself. And so we complain to the manager, Latinos, and we end up getting evicted. And this is a problem that is epidemic not only in LA County, but all through California and the surrounding areas. And again, you, like most of us, end up losing all our property, all our personal property. Why? Because the managers confiscate everything. Ask the military veterans. They all have their dreadful stories when it comes to apartments. And many of them don't qualify. They're homeless, but they don't qualify. And most of these illegals, single mothers, illegals, qualify for every program, whether it be city, county, state, and federal. And they get in and trash the neighborhoods, the apartments, etc. And look at the homeless military veterans, including myself. We ended up homeless. Why? Because it's a matter of principle. We take these entities on, as I am doing now. And yes, has it put me in the forefront in danger, death threats? Absolutely. Why? Because I'm not a butt kisser, and I don't take shortcuts. My father used to say, God bless your father, my papa. He'd say, nip it in the butt. There's a problem, nip it in the butt before it snowballs all the way. And I thank my father for the great principle he's taught me. Thank you.
On item number 3, members, do we have any questions on item number 3? Okay, seeing no questions from the committee. We'll approve the LA Housing Department's recommendations. We now move to item number 4.
Item number 4, CDD and CAO report relative to authority to reprogram $359,000 in CDBG RA savings from the Homeless Prevention and Rapid Rehousing Program and West Los Angeles Food and Transportation Program to the Human Relations Advocates Program and city-operated Family Source Centers programs.
Okay, thank you. There are no public comment cards on this item. For an item number 4, public comment is open. Seeing no cards before me, public comment is closed. With that, there are any questions from my colleagues on this item number 4? Okay, if there's no questions, then we'll go ahead and approve the CEO's recommendations. Okay, it's approved. We now move to item number 5.
Item number 5, LEHD and CAO report relative to request for authority to execute a grant agreement in the amount of $5 million with the California Housing Finance Agency Mortgage Assistance Corporation for a $5 million grant award for the Los Angeles Mortgage Modification Program and related actions.
Okay, thank you very much. We have public comment card on item number 5. Ivan Maria Jimenez. And now been joined by Councilmember Jan Perry.
Good morning, committee members. I'm here to recognize and thank the unanimous support we've received from the council with regard to this program, and in particular for Council District 7, Councilman Alarcon, and Council District 6, Councilman Cardenas, who've provided significant support. The Los Angeles Housing Department has done an outstanding job in nurturing and cultivating conversations with the banks to participate in this program, and we do have some banks in that process now. However, I call upon all of you to consider pulling the political class together to bring Bank of America to the table. Bank of America is the master servicer in the city of Los Angeles, in fact, the state of California. And this program is targeting the hardest hit neighborhoods of Los Angeles, the NSP neighborhoods. So it's leveraging a pre-foreclosure strategy with a post-foreclosure strategy that will go a long way in stabilizing the housing market here in Los Angeles. And we could really make that come to fruition if Bank of America really participates rather than giving it lip service. And the hardest hit neighborhoods are in South Los Angeles and the Northeast Valley. I commend and recognize you for the support you've lent and the outstanding work of the Los Angeles Housing Department. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the members?
Just one question.
Yes, Councilmember Reyes.
When we look at the dollar amounts that we are discussing, is there a impact level in terms of units that we anticipate, or sometimes these the depths of these problems are pretty profound? So when we look at the amount of monies that are being addressed, can we get a scale or get a feel for what we anticipate in terms of positive impacts?
Yeah, Councilman. Doug Swager with Los Angeles Housing Department. We've estimated in the application that an average assistance per household of about $27,000. And just doing that math, it comes out to about 165 households we think we can help with this money.
165,000?
165 total.
Households?
Households, yeah.
Okay. And what's, just to put it in perspective, the problem, we're in the thousands, right?
Yeah, since, 2007, there's been over 58,000 foreclosed housing units in the city. At any given time, we estimate there's somewhere around 3,000 folks in foreclosure, between 3,000 and 4,000.
But each family that's going to benefit, this will mean a world of a difference for them. And that has a high value. But also, I'm assuming the policy development side of it, we're going to learn from this experience and how to deal with it, hopefully on a much grander scale in the future, should we have resources, should we have different strategies emerging that can address this problem. And that would be my hope in terms of looking at this level of experience as we go through these uncharted waters. Would that be accurate?
Yeah, that's our intent with this, and with the the first program that we've attempted to put into place in CD 6 and 7, is to show them as a demonstration of how we can effectively use public money to not only get loan modifications for households, but loan modifications that include principal reduction, actually reducing the amount that people owe on a cost-effective way. And if we can demonstrate this can be done, our hope is that there would be a lot more money flowing for this problem.
In terms of accountability from the financial institutions, do we anticipate any lessons learned there, or can we teach them how to treat us better in terms of how we look at these issues and how we look at resources and not just view the city as a giant ATM machine?
Yeah, I think it depends on the institution. We've got varying levels of support or lack thereof. The banks, they clearly indicate that they want to modify loans. They do talk to us. They seem less interested in modifications that include principal reduction. And as we negotiate with them, to this point, we've held firm that is sort of the critical aspect that people need, actually, if they're underwater, to actually have those principal balances reduced if they're really going to help folks. They want to, the banks are willing to lower interest rates, extend terms, to make the payment more affordable, but many of them at this point, especially the large banks, are not willing to reduce the principal. It's been our experience.
Wow. Thank you.
Thank you. Alarcon?
The Obama administration, when it first came into being, made a firm statement that it was not going to get involved in principal reduction programs. It was very disheartening to hear that. In fact, the statement was made at Miguel Contreras High School, and some of you might have been there. Yeah. But about a year later, there was a shift within the administration, particularly at HUD, recognizing that without principal reduction, you really, all you're doing is extending the terms of the loan and increasing their debt, and so there was a move to move toward principal reduction. The problem is that, or the opportunity, the real opportunity, was in the bailout money. If they had instructed that the bailout money include principal reduction type loans, then it would have offset the bank's concern about a reduction of their capitalized assets. So they have requirements to meet. If they accept a principal reduction, they are in essence lowering their assets, and they see it as a threat to their required capital assets needs. So it's been a real challenge, and this program is clearly a demonstration, as was said by staff. It's a demonstration project to demonstrate that indeed we can make these work. Now, the interesting thing about this is that the One LA Coalition has developed a model that will actually make the banks profit, more profit than they are making by going through the modification process, because they will get cash up front that, if you amortize it over 30 years, actually provides them more resources. But it's that capitalization issue that is a critical problem, and honestly, I believe it's going to take federal action to really require the banks to do a lot more than they're willing to do. And so, nevertheless, if we can find banks that are willing to do this, and there are some that are talking about it, then I think we can have a demonstration for the United States that might be funded separately, because the money does come back. It's not as if we lose the money.
One last question.
Yeah, Mr. Reyes, Councilmember Reyes.
Chair. Given those dynamics and seeing these changes, when was the last time we had a snapshot of the foreclosure situation in our city? Like, what was the last year that we actually got a clear picture of where the foreclosure dilemma is most evident? What year was that?
Well, the housing department tracks the foreclosures continually.
Okay.
Every quarter, we get information on a number of foreclosures that have occurred. And so I'm thinking back on it. There was sort of a decrease in foreclosures late in 2010, and they've started to peak up in recent months. We're not at the levels that we were back in 2008, but they are starting to creep up a bit. And we're starting now in the city to see foreclosures of multifamily properties more so than we have in the past. In the past, it's been, a lot of single-family homes, particularly up in the San Fernando Valley, and a lot of single-family homes in South Los Angeles, as well as a mix of 2 to 4 unit smaller rental properties down in South LA. And so, so we've seen it tick up. The word is still, if you read the papers and stuff, the word's still out there that there's a lot of inventory that the banks have not foreclosed upon yet, that, it's a potential that they could, and we'd see a lot more.
So they're on the bubble.
I'm sorry?
They're on the bubble. They're about to
Yeah.
go. Do you have that online, or is that a report you can provide for us?
Yeah, absolutely. We can show, we've got it quarterly from January 2007 up until, I guess, the most recent quarter, and we've got it by council district as well.
Can we get a report back on that?
Absolutely.
The most current figure? I just want to see how we're moving.
Okay.
Thanks.
And just so people understand, principal reduction, there's no law against principal reduction. It's solely to the discretion of the note holder. For example, B of A, when Councilmember Alarcon and I put over $1 million into a pilot program like this to try to see what we can do in our district, Bank of America came forward and said that they were more than willing to consider principal reductions on a case-by-case basis. But it's my understanding they haven't participated and followed through with an actual principal reduction transaction, correct?
No, they have not. We've provided them 40 families, and for one reason or another, they claim they're ineligible.
Yeah, so talk is cheap, but at the same time, it is completely in the discretion of the note holder, and that, in this case, most of the note holders are banks. So it can be done, but they're refusing to do it. On a case-by-case basis, when I was in real estate in about 1990, it was a big foreclosure era, and the banks were doing principal reductions back then. It was commonplace. There are principal reductions now, but it seems like they've tightened up, and they're much less prevalent today on a percentage basis and on a transaction basis.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah.
Having said that, I think it's fair to say that there are banks that are being good out there. There are banks that are not getting into foreclosure situations at all. They do whatever they can to avoid those situations. So those banks should be commended.
And that's definitely the minority of what's going on out there.
Yeah, but the ones who have been most challenging are the biggest banks with the highest foreclosure rates.
Yep. And also remember, it was B of A that took over Countrywide, and Countrywide was one of the biggest culprits in the whole process on the front end, which means that they're having a glut of foreclosures on the back end.
It's amazing. I just saw some economic reports on banks and compensations for bank executives, and it's amazing. They're like $3 million a year, and it just makes you wonder. But anyway, I'll let it go.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Okay, we're on item number 5. We had public comment on item number 5. Public comments now closed. Seeing no more questions from the committee members, we'll approve the CAO's recommendations on item number 5. That's been approved. We now move to item number 6.
Item number 6, CRA and CLA report relative to amending the disposition and development agreement with the Child Development Institute to increase funding by $142,000 from $715,000 to $857,000 for related costs of additional structural and electrical upgrades required by the LE Department of Building and Safety during rehabilitation of the former Canoga Park Library at 7260 Owensmouth Avenue in the Disaster Assistance Project for portions of Council District 3.
Okay. Thank you. We do not have any public comment cards on item number 6. Public comment is open on 6. Seeing no cards before me, public comment is closed on item number 6. Are there any questions regarding this item, members? Okay. Seeing none, we'll approve the CLA's recommendations. Thank you very much. That's approved. We now move to item number 7.
Item number 7, CRA report and resolution and CAO report relative to authorization to invest $2.5 million of State Energy Program grant funds into the Los Angeles County Pooled Investment Fund to establish a debt service reserve fund as required by the grant-funded Los Angeles Commercial Building Performance Partnership Program in support of bonds to be issued to finance energy improvement projects.
I have questions for CRA on this one. Do I have a representative from CRA?
Good morning, Sharon G., Assistant Project Manager with the CRA.
Thank you, Sharon. Now, it's my understanding that this is an energy efficiency program of sorts where building owners are afforded the opportunity to apply for some grants to make improvements on energy efficiencies to their buildings?
That is mostly correct. The $7.5 million grant-funded program's goal is to incentivize and catalyze the undertaking of energy efficiency and water conservation retrofit work for commercial buildings within the city. The grant funds are funding free energy audits to eligible commercial building owners. This is primarily to educate building owners as to the potential energy savings that they could achieve if they were to, for instance, switch out incandescent lights with CFL bulbs. There's also another added service to the program is to introduce building owners to financing sources as well as to contractors who can implement the work. A third component is that the city is proposing to pilot a new innovative financing mechanism to help finance these retrofit loans.
Oh, okay. And it's my understanding that there was a process by which the city has contracted out a portion of this responsibility, and when did that take place, and who administered that RFP process?
That is correct. I believe the CRA issued an RFP for a program administrator back in January of 2011, and let me pull up my files. There were 10 proposals received, and 5 were interviewed.
How many were received?
5 proposals.
No,
I'm
how
sorry,
many were
10
received?
proposals were received, 5 were shortlisted for interviews. And that contract authorization was approved by the board in March, also approved by council again in March.
Okay. And so it was narrowed down to 5 interviews, and then one company was
Ultimately selected, and that is Wildan Energy Solutions, formerly known as Entergy Corporation. They're primarily known for managing similar energy efficiency programs for utilities throughout the state. Most recently, I believe in 2008, they were acquired by the Wildan Group.
Okay. And so Wildan is what's their title again on this, the program administrator? you said?
Wildan Energy Solutions, they are acting as a program administrator.
Okay, and what does a program administrator do?
It's quite an ambitious scope of work. So they were tasked with setting up the program number 1, developing all the application materials, all the marketing materials on the website. They were also tasked with setting up protocols and procedures for energy audits. Because it's approximately $4 million is earmarked for energy audits, there is a pool of 7 engineering firms that are qualified to perform energy audits for the program. Because every firm does energy audits their own way, it was necessary to bring someone to kind of standardize a scope of work and the process for which these energy audits are done. Apparently, that's an issue with the energy efficiency field right now, is that everyone does it slightly differently, and it's hard to issue loans on retrofits when energy audits standards kind of vary. I mean, there are industry standards, but there's quite a bit of leeway. So that's another task that Wildan is doing, is to standardize that and also coordinate with all the auditor firms, and also to process and evaluate PACE financing applications.
So a person owns a commercial building in the city, they hear about this program, they call a phone number or something like that, or get online, and then they communicate with a city department, or they communicate with Wildan at that point?
They communicate with Wildan directly. At that point, once the application is completed, that's farmed out to another firm. Their name is EGIA, and they process the applications, evaluate them, screen them according to the eligibility criteria, and then it is handed over to another firm that then schedules the work amongst the 7 firms. And then the Wildan, as a program administrator, handles the primary contact with the client to make sure that it's a very customer service friendly program for the commercial building owner, and they coordinate and are on site when the walkthrough is done through the building, and then they then deliver the report results, present to them various financing options, and also can present a director of voluntary contractors that have signed up with the program.
You said something about a CGIA company?
EGIA is one of the firms that is part of the team, and they screen and
They're
evaluate.
one of the 7 on the list?
No, they are a different, there are 7 engineering firms qualified to do energy audits, but there are additional other subcontractors. There's a marketing firm that was retained, as well as EGIA, and EGIA's sole purpose is to process and evaluate applications.
EGIA, did they go through an RFP process?
They were proposed as part of the team that will then submit it to the RFP.
Okay, so Wildan was successful in the RFP process, and then Wildan recommended to the city that EGIA be involved, and the city said, okay, fine, that's part of their bid, or that was over and above the bid, and something that was inserted after the RFP process?
The way the RFP was structured was that we asked for primes to submit with a team of firms. There's a wide variety of players in the field, so we kept it flexible and broad enough to solicit good proposals. There are some engineering firms, all they do is simply energy audits. Very kind of meat and potatoes engineering firms. There are other firms called energy services companies where they will do the engineering work, but they will also do the installation and also the financing of the improvements. So what we had asked for in the scope of the RFP was simply that there be one prime contractor for the contract, and they had flexibility in how they proposed their team. Wildan had proposed a certain team of firms, EGIA included, to do that function of screening and evaluating of applications. They had also proposed, I believe, about 5 engineering firms. The city, or CRA, did request that they add a few others to beef up that pool to just make sure that we had enough capacity to handle the energy audits that we expected. There was also a marketing firm, and I believe also a financial advisory firm for the PACE transactions.
So the gatekeeper, as I would put it, is Wildan. They're the first point of contact
They are the prime.
for people who want to apply, or companies who want to apply.
Yes.
And is Wildan involved in any other aspect other than that front-end responsibility? Are they competing at all with the other 7 firms?
They are in the energy audits. They are one of the firms that are qualified to do energy audits.
On the RFP process, when Wildan was asked to when the companies who applied were asked to put together teams, was it abundantly clear that it is to be disclosed to the City of Los Angeles as to whether or not Wildan has any interest whatsoever in any of the firms that they are recommending to be part of the team?
Yes, and aside from Wildan Energy Solutions, no other firms are affiliated with Wildan. There is a list of the other firms. I can go into them if you like.
No, that's fine. What I'm going to want to do is so as not to bore my colleagues, what I'd like to do is have a meeting, so as not to bore you anymore.
Have a coffee.
I'm going to ask that the appropriate city staff who are aware of the details of this entire process, that they meet in my office so that we can go over the scenario, and so that I can decide whether or not there are any conflicts of interest. Because it's my understanding that Wildan is participating in two aspects of this process, and they have pulled down as much fees as any other company in this entire process, even though they are the gatekeeper at the front end.
Be happy to meet with you and your staff on this to discuss it further.
Good, and I hope it's a happy meeting. Okay. So with that, we will hold this item in committee. I'm not done with it. So, okay, thank you very much. Okay, we don't have any public comment on this item. Yes.
I was just going to
Yes.
ask you, Mr. Chair, and I apologize for being late. When you have a moment, may I put some questions to be answered in council regarding item 4 when you have a moment?
Sure, we can go back to item number 4.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. To give instructions. Okay. Thank you very much. There's no public comment on 7, so we'll move from item number 7. We'll hold that in committee, and then we'll go to item number 8.
Item number 8, CRA and CAO reports relative to increasing the pool of funds by $4 million for general architectural consulting services for various projects and program areas for the period ending August 5th, 2012.
Did you want to hold it? No. Okay. We do not have any public comment cards on item number 8. So, any questions from the committee? Okay. No public comment cards. Then, therefore, we will go ahead and approve the CAO's recommendations. Okay. That's approved. Now we'll go back to item number 4 for adding instructions.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair, and I appreciate your indulgence on this. These questions can be answered in council when it goes to council. And this is directed to CDD, and CAO can work on putting the answers together. Explain on the record the difficulty in allocating the HPRP funds for the intended purpose, and that is the homeless prevention rapid rehousing funds. There was a set aside for people living at a higher AMI. The money is being reprogrammed for the Human Relations Commission and a nonprofit. We have a number of people who've been working with agencies like APLA and others that need the funds for first and last month rent and move-in expenses for people who have Section 8 vouchers and are limited in the time they have to find housing. And we're getting a lot of blowback now from agencies who do that kind of work. I'd also like the department to inform us of any additional resources the city may see that can be reprogrammed to help agencies that are seeking housing solutions for homeless that we are trying to house. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Okay. That understood? Okay. So we'll have those answers when that item goes to the floor. Okay. Now we move to our last item on the agenda, is item number 9.
Item number 9, communication from the LA Board of Transportation Commissioners and CLA report relative to authority to execute an exclusive negotiation agreement with Forest City Residential West, Inc., and authority to delegate joint project management and negotiating powers to CRALA and the CLA for the Blossom Plaza project in Chinatown and related action.
Come to public comment first. We got 3 cards here? Okay. We have 3 cards on public comment on item number 9. If you'll all come forward as I call your name. Marcos Velayos, Kim Allen Benjamin, and Antonia Ramirez. If you could speak in that order, please. Marcos, you can begin.
Good morning, Chairman Cardenas and honorable council members. Marcos Velayos with Park and Velayos representing the Ribbley Family Wine Estates. The Ribbley family is a 4th-generation stakeholder in the community. They're the owner and operator of the nearby San Antonio Winery and own over 40 acres of land in this community. They've been invested in this community for over 4 generations. They're also the owner of the immediately adjacent Capitol Milling Building, which is the oldest industrial building in the city of Los Angeles. We have some concerns about ensuring that the Blossom Plaza project move forward in a way that's sensitive to the issues with Capitol Milling, which include the historic impacts, the connectivity to the station, and shade shadow impacts. There was a 2004 settlement agreement that addressed these issues. However, it did not appear that the RFP for the developer RFP that was issued was observing the settlement agreement. We sent a letter to the CRA in January of this year to raise those issues and try to get them addressed, because frankly, the last thing we want to do is slow this process down. However, there are real issues that need to be addressed. In addition, Mr. Ratner from Forest City and Steve and Santo Riboli met previously, and there was discussions about having a meeting in October to address, to sit down, show what the plans were, and try to address these issues. That meeting hasn't taken place yet. So what we would request is, if the committee does so choose to move this forward along to council, that again, these issues be addressed, and that as a condition to that, there be a mandatory meeting with CRA, Forest City, and the Riboli family. Again, we've been raising these issues for almost a year now to avoid being in this precise situation.
Thank you. Mr. Benjamin.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Welcome the opportunity. Councilmember Perry, Councilmember Reyes. Good to see you. My name is Kim Allen Benjamin. I'm the current president of the Chinatown Business Improvement District in which this property sits. I've been in that position for some 7 years now. I'm also the current president of the Historic and Cultural Neighborhood Council, again, which this property sits in. And I'm the former property owner who used to sell it to and sold it to Mr. Bond, who had this misfortunate experience, but familiar with the agreement referenced herein by the Riboli family and the MND. I'm here to speak as the president of the two organizations in questions. I'm not a property owner of interest, as you know, and have no vested interest in that regard. We have taken the matter up, as the boards have, at the BID level, and the board at the Historic and Cultural Neighborhood Council on 2 occasions each. We have met with the architect, we have met with the developer. I've personally gone down and sat down with the Johnson Fain just recently and gone over the discussion, and met with Mr. Ratner as well. And we have voted in the past to support the M&D as presented, in full, in toto, unanimously at both levels. We're here to reiterate our support at both board levels for this project. This project has been in the making for altogether too long. It is a project that has the portent to change the community for the better on so many levels, to connect to the station, which is something the community's wanted for so many years, to have a public parking opportunity for so many years, to have additional retail, housing. Effectively speaking, that housing would be able to provide people an opportunity to live in our community, spend money in our community, create jobs in our community. So we hope that you will post haste, move forward quickly, expedited manner, support the proposal, support Forest City, and get this project built.
Thank you. Antonia?
The LA Board of Transportation has been criminally negligent in providing public safety and protection to the military veterans, pilots, their respective families, and all legal law-abiding citizens. We get bullied, attacked, ambushed, and all transportation vehicles by gangbangers and criminal illegal aliens, whether they are the trains, buses, Metrolink, Amtrak, Coast
Antonia,
shuttles.
Antonia, you do have a general public comment card where you can bring up any issue you'd
Yes,
like.
I'm
It's not on the
getting there.
agenda.
I'm getting there.
Excuse me one second. We're not on general public comment. We're on
I
item number
understand that.
9.
I'm getting there, because it does include the LA Board of Transportation. So I'm working my way up there.
Does your comment
Yeah,
deal with
well-
the Blossom Plaza project?
Yeah,
On the project, oh, yeah.
okay. I look forward to you getting there.
And, could you read?
Don't worry about it. I'll give you a little extra time.
Okay. Again, we get ambushed, primarily committed by your ferocious gangbangers and criminal illegal aliens, yet no one addresses it nor rectifies it. And I bet most assuredly it's not on your report. That's why I'm here to tell you the truth from the personal experience. Moreover, you want to execute an exclusive negotiation agreement with Forest City Residential's West and put a joint project in Chinatown, and I go there all the time, and I shop there all the time. I say adamantly, no, no, no. The dangers are percolating because your transportation department has failed to provide public safety protection. Thereby, this has transcended into Chinatown, Little Tokyo, and the Asian communities, where many of the Latino Hispanics are committing crimes in these areas. They are loitering, they are selling, they're distributing, and committing criminal stalking, thereby embarking and committing a criminal empire violations in this community, Chinatown, as many business merchants in Chinatown and Little Tokyo, as well as residents, have confided in me and told me, and as well as the surrounding neighbors. So, again, you have East LA now, and I have talked to many of them as well, now going into Chinatown, Little Tokyo. Watch out. You cannot promote safety and start a business and projects when you've got a problem with transportation, the main source to get there. And that's my dilemma. Not the main money making right now. You can't do it until you give a solution to the basic foundation of transportation. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, committee members, Councilmember Reyes.
One, I want to thank the staff for their intestinal fortitude and stamina on this project. It's been quite a few years, but I'm very glad we're here. This is an incredible opportunity for many. We never gave up on this potential. I want to thank the city family in terms of making sure we get to a place where we can have an understanding. And so we will meet with you, and we'll bring all parties together before it comes to council. I think most of the agreements were put forth in good faith, and I think we should keep them. And these are the understandings that we have. And again, I look forward to working with all the different parties before we get to council. Mr. Chair, I'd like to recommend that we move this forward. I think that what has been addressed in this committee, we can overcome it before we get to council.
Okay. So should we move this forward? Councilmember Reyes, let me clarify. So you'll confirm with the President's office that the meeting that was requested has taken place and the dialogue and the...
We will make sure that happens.
Okay. So once that happens, then you'll communicate to the council president and then set a date for council?
No, what I'm saying is let's just keep it as scheduled for council, and we will meet before then.
When would this go before council?
City Clerk, Richard Williams. We can schedule this for whichever day the committee requests.
Okay.
We waited too long.
Forthwith, okay.
Okay, so today is Wednesday, so Wednesday of next week, so
That's fine.
sometime between now and then?
We will meet. We will have that conversation.
I'm sorry, we don't have council next week, right?
No, we're at council recess. The soonest that we can schedule this for would be Tuesday, the 15th.
Okay, so
That's fine.
Tuesday the 15th?
That's
That'll
fine.
give you next week to go ahead and have that meeting and those discussions. Okay?
Okay, just
All right.
one last question. I
Yeah.
didn't, on the Forest City representatives here, can you just come on up for a second? With the assumption, hi, please introduce yourself.
Frank Frellichardi, Project Manager for Boston Plaza Forest City Development.
Welcome, sir. Good morning.
Thank you. Good morning.
We have entitlements that we need to keep before a certain date in 2012. These are my assumptions, that the agreements that we had put together up until now will be honored. And I do know I worked extensively with the Ribley family in regards to the old industrial building. There's a lot of architectural and design elements that were complementary at the last point of conversation before the bottom fell out on the real estate. So we are now at a place where we can move this forward. Do you feel confident we can keep those entitlements before and perform on them before 2012?
Yes, we're very confident, pending issues such as the, E&A getting executed as quickly as possible and getting into DDA. We are confident that we can, by December 2012, have the project under construction and retain those entitlements.
Great. So we will meet the parties that were addressed earlier. I'm surprised that we're having this conversation, but 'cause I've always been available to all parties on this particular project. It's so important to our office. So we will meet before the council date, and we'll square this away.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So with the three members present, Perry, Cardenas, and Reyes voting, we'll approve the CLA's recommendations. Okay, those recommendations are approved. That concludes the 9 items on the agenda. We now go to general public comment. We have one general public comment card, Antonia Ramirez.
Hello. As a Mexican-American non-butt kisser, I stand on principle, and that's what I believe in. There are no shortcuts in life, and nor do I take them.
Thank you.
Having said that, I'd also like to say that I'm disappointed with the Latino community because they do not stand for principle, and because
Hold on, Antonia, 1 second.
Yeah.
Everybody, please keep your conversations down or take them outside.
Thank you. I'm disappointed in the Latino community because the majority of them believe in gangbanging and easy money. I do not believe in easy money, and I don't believe in shortcuts. And I'm good about that, and I've been grateful for the great principles that my parents have taught me. But having said that, I'm also very disappointed in with the LAPD and the Sheriff's Department. Absent of the chopper pilots, police and sheriffs, boy, they kick ass. Those guys are high performance, hot mamas. They do their job exceptionally well. God bless those pilots. And I'd like to hone in on the Latinos, the Latino deputies who are just despicable, who are gangbangers in uniform, who do not keep the community safe, and then, again, and it spills over into the community where we, law-abiding citizens, pilots and military veterans, get ambushed by the illegals and the gangbangers. We get quashed or munched like a sandwich. And these deputies are Deputy Cruz, Deputy Aguirre, Henry Romero, Daniel Lopez, Lomelli, Pedro Mejia, Valencia, Duran, Sandoval, female Sandoval, Pacheco, Martinez, Jay Murillo, Hector Andujo, George Pernal, and other sordid 5150 deputies. And again, these deputies are unethical, they're racist, they're gangbangers in uniform, and what I'm trying to do, and this is what I stand on, I'm hoping to eradicate all the Latinos in LAPD and also as well as in the Sheriff's Department who are conspiring against those civilized human beings who want to follow the rule of law, which they don't. They're not above the law. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Antonia, in the future, when you come to my committee, if you could, when you speak on particular items, like right now, what you were saying was perfectly appropriate for general public comment, but when you fill out a card on a specific item, can you please focus more on the item that's on the agenda? I've given you tremendous latitude on speaking on particular items, and I respect your right to speak and your freedom of speech. However, when it comes to particular items, you need to be addressing that particular item, okay?
And may I ask you, if you phrase it correctly, I can take that and tear it apart, that section. You started with the Department of Transportation, and that's where or the Commission, that's where I went, and from there I went piggyback on all, because it does have that fundamental basis problem, and that's where I extended to try to promote a remedy for that area, which you guys have failed to expound on. That's what I did, and I brought it more in that arena so I can give you a brief synopsis where the projects they're going to fail. You're going to regret it. One day you will look at me and say, you're right, they failed. Thank you very much. Word it properly, and I'll follow from there. Thank you very much for the latitude.